Hello, and welcome to episode 1236 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, December 8th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, we have talked recently, so there hasn't been a lot going on, but good morning.
Hey, it's Ohtani watch.
I know, now we're on the big Ohtani watch. We have literally no news since the time we recorded.
We have the report that his decision is imminent.
Okay, well, that literally just went up, but when I had originally... when we were getting ready to start, and I had refreshed trade rumors, the last thing that was up when we recorded yesterday was was still at the top of the page. Now, it had been updated. This thing, Dave Rubenstein reportedly in talks to acquire the Baltimore Orioles, something about ownership there.
Mm-hmm.
It had been updated at 11:59 p.m. Central, but it was the last thing that was up when you and I talked yesterday afternoon for the pod, and then the first thing this morning. Since then, two things have happened, including the Shohei Ohtani decision reportedly imminent, and then something that they have called the opener, which is probably just their morning post over there. So we haven't had much news except that. What do you think about this? I do want to talk about the Ohtani stuff real quick because we don't have any real tracking of who's in this that much, right? We've got obviously the Dodgers. The Jays have become prominent in this. You had an interesting angle that I didn't even think about looking at, the betting markets as a way of gleaning some information here. So why don't you take the lead here and give us some information on Ohtani? People might know where he's at by the time this goes if he signs in an hour, but absent that, give us some info that you've gleaned from the Ohtani talks here.
So apparently all the Vegas lines have Toronto moving even with the Dodgers. The Dodgers have been the clear favorite in Vegas in terms of where they will end up since the beginning. And the Cubs, maybe a few weeks ago started to move up closer to the Dodgers, but now the Cubs have moved back down, and the Blue Jays are dead heat with the Dodgers. And a lot of people, I can't remember who was talking about this. It may have been like a John Heyman or Morosi or it's the ESPN, a Passan. But the tax implications are different for an international player going to the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of American-born players, if you go to the Blue Jays, you've got to pay taxes in Canada and then pay taxes in the U.S. So you actually lose money going to a place like the Blue Jays. It's why the Giants are having such problems signing people, because the tax rate and cost of living is so much higher in San Francisco than it is in the rest of the country. So, yeah, I mean, I would be stoked if Ohtani went to Toronto.
Because you want anywhere but LA
as my sign says, Shohei, don't go to LA. I just don't want him to go to LA. I know there was a lot of talk last night on some programs about the Giants still being involved. I would love it if the Giants, but he has no reason to go to San Francisco. So, if he goes to San Francisco, it's because the Giants offered him way more money.
So much more than everybody else. Yeah.
So, but I still think it's going to be the Dodgers. We'll see if it happens today or over the next few days. How do you feel about, he's gotten a lot of pushback on this secrecy in the media the last few days. I think it's silly that people are pushing back, and I think it's the media just being annoyed that they're not getting the kind of news.
Yep, that's literally what I was going to say. I think they're just a little butthurt about it because, frankly, to me, this is better than every little crumb having to be a breaking news thing.
And everybody's entitled to a little bit of privacy, right?
Yeah.
I know he's a public figure, and that in turn entitles him to less privacy than the rest of us. But could you imagine if the media reported every single potential job switch? I hear Paul Sporer might end up going to RotoWire.
We saw Paul's browser on RotoWire. Was he just searching there, or was he trying to get in touch with them? Is the move imminent?
He just followed DVR from The Athletic. Is he going to The Athletic? It's so silly. And
And that's
I
the thing; they're
wonder.
so desperate for news that they come up with bullshit. That's where I get to be like
Mhm.
with things like Otani and then LeBron when he's made his, big moves. It's like I don't need every ounce of it. I
No,
really, really don't. So I
I,
kind of like this better. Get
me
me
too.
when there's an actual decision.
Yeah. I wonder if Toronto would be a really, appealing spot for him. He's a guy who seems like he wants, in his day to day life, wants to be a little bit unknown,
As much
and
as you can when you're the greatest baseball player in the universe.
exactly. But like, the Blue Jays are extremely popular in Toronto, but it's not hockey. Like, he may not get
True.
noticed. They have a large Asian population, so maybe he can go a little bit more under the radar than in a place. Well, I mean, LA, everybody's famous, so I guess it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yes, maybe between his top two, Otani has found two spots where, as best as he can, which is not much, he can be somewhat anonymous.
Yeah.
And if that is what he's looking for, then yeah, then those two spots do make some sense. I agree. If I'm putting money down, I still got to go LA until I'm proven otherwise.
Hmm.
But I think it'd be cool to see him go to Toronto just to kind of really shake things up. I don't really have a vested
That
interest.
offense would be
Bananas. Now,
unreal good.
what do you think about it like in the short term this year where it doesn't really help their biggest need, right? I feel like pitching is probably a bigger need for that Toronto team. Obviously, you don't turn
It was their
down
offense
Otani.
that failed though this year.
That's true, particularly in the playoffs.
And so actually, their pitching, they spent a lot of money on their pitching last year to bolster it. Most of that is still around.
That's fair. They probably have four bankables with Gosman, Berrios, Bassett, and Kikuchi. You got Manoah sitting there in the 5 spot right now. We have no idea what that is, but figuring out your fifth starter from year to year is whatever. And if he happens to come back to anywhere near the Manoah levels that we, know
And
prior to last year, then they would have a really strong 5. So that's fair. That's a fair point.
and there has been rumors in the area of them potentially trading Guerrero in a big time deal for someone like Corbin Burns. So,
Oh man, that would be something.
so
I'd like to
maybe,
see Toronto just go crazy
yeah.
this offseason and really, really just kind of shake up their team. That'd be great. I'm fine with that. It
Mhm.
doesn't always have to be the usual suspects with the Mets or with both New York teams, with LA, Boston. Let's get Toronto in the mix. Let's see them go crazy with some things. I'm here for it. So
Me too.
we'll keep tabs on this. Obviously, if something breaks during the show, we will jump right in. I'm sure we both have trade rumors up, and we'll continue to refresh there. It does also say that the Giants, Angels, Cubs were involved in the bidding, but Jays, Dodgers appear to be the clear front runners right now, and we'll see what happens with Otani. But absent that, there has been no other signing news, so we're going to get into our topic today of the biggest ADP fallers since October. We did the risers a couple episodes ago, talking about the guys that are on the move up from the October drafts to over these last 5 here, say from mid-November here till December, or through December 8th, excuse me. There's only been about 5 or 6 drafts, so it's not a ton of data points, but you get an idea of where some folks are moving. We have 10 guys here who have moved a round plus. Now, it's not just a bunch of old guys that you might think, oh, they want to, no one wants to draft these guys. You're going to see a little bit of that trend early, but then we got some youngsters mixed in, 2 really young guys that maybe people are saying, can we really trust their playing time? Then you got some health risk. I got all sorts of stuff, but this first guy, probably not a huge surprise. And, you haven't been in on Shane Bieber in quite some time. I was pretty big on him last year. I'm certainly not as strong this year, but if the price keeps dropping, maybe I'm right back in at taking the gamble, but he's minus 53 spots right now. Shane Bieber is coming all the way down to pick 200, kind of on the button here in these last 5 drafts. What do you think of Shane Bieber dropping down to pick 200? Is that a range that you might have some interest in? 53 picks lower than he was in October?
Right now we're drafting gladiators, we're drafting draft champions. I'm less likely to take the gamble there just because there is no recourse when he inevitably gets hurt, or if he loses more velocity and becomes an even less effective pitcher. However, if we're still drafting him, here or even lower come March, I'm going to be interested because I think while there is some like injury red flags, like I think he is a guy that you should be able to pencil in for like 180 innings.
Yeah,
Maybe they won't be as good of an innings as you've seen in the past from Shane Bieber, but like as long as he's healthy, he's going to be on the mound every fifth day.
100%.
So, and chances are he won't even be in a Cleveland uniform, so maybe he'll be on a better team.
That's an interesting wrinkle. I didn't even think about them possibly moving Bieber.
Yeah, because I mean he's a free agent at the end of the season, costs a lot of money. They were already talking about moving Clase. I would not be surprised if Bieber is moved at the deadline, especially if the Guardians aren't in a playoff spot come July, August. So I'm more interested in Bieber this year because of the price. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm honestly shocked at how low the price is. I know that it wasn't like the best of his years, but like a 3.80 ERA and 128 innings is still, fine, especially with
Fine by
his long
me.
track record.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you are smart about your projection for him, I'm probably going to project him for like 150 innings and a mid threes ERA. That probably puts him higher on my ranks than he is on ADP, which will be the first time that's happened probably ever.
Yeah, keep the price dipping. I'll gladly jump in if Bieber keeps dropping into the 200s. We did talk about him almost a month ago when we talked about Cleveland's pitching factory, and the question we asked is he a trustworthy 150 innings? And I don't know that you can say he's trustworthy in that you just set it and forget it. 97, 200, and 128 innings are his last three counts. You love the 200 there, but then you're nowhere near a $150 on those other two seasons. I mean, I guess 128 isn't that far from it, but you get the point. I talk about this a lot though. When it's covered in the price, you can't really hold it against the guy as an extra negative, right? Bieber is at pick 200 because of the injury risk. I think he's just being more appropriately valued now. And I think one of the reasons that you didn't like him previously was because he was relatively expensive for this risk. Now you can get an appropriate price, and I think he's worth taking a look at. So I'm in on Bieber with the dip. If he keeps falling, obviously that's going to make me more interested. Got to move on to this next guy here, and I don't know if you want to go get like a box of Kleenex, or if you're going to cry, or what's going to happen with this. I'm really nervous about how your reaction is going to be, but don't kill the messenger. I'm not doing this. This is the draft market that is 41 picks lighter on Cedric Mullins, dropping nearly 3 rounds. Now, on the one hand, you might say, well, sign me up. This is my guy. And if he's going to be dropping, then I'm going to stick with somebody I've loved. On the other hand, do you see why the market is dropping him? Do you now have some concerns about your boy Cedric Mullins? He has dipped to pick 160 in this recent drop. So he was going just outside the top 100, and now here he is going outside the top 150. How does that make you feel about your boy Cedric Mullins?
It makes me sad for him. I also understand why they're doing it. He has been platooning more or hitting at the bottom of the lineup when they are up against the lefty. He's no longer like guaranteed to hit first every single day. The batting average has dropped off the last 2 seasons down to 233 this last year. And I mean, it was backed up the last 2 years with XBAs of 232 and 223. So, I mean, he kind of has deserved the batting average. That being said, oh, go ahead.
I have a big question though.
Yeah.
What the hell's up with the steals? Because everyone starts running wild last year. His rate was great, 19 for 21, or 19 for 22, excuse me. I love that. But Justin, when I tell you he got 19, and I know he played fewer games, 116, but he only got 19 steals, and he had 11 in April. You had to be thinking that he was going to go absolutely crazy on the bases, and he gets you 8 the rest of the way. Again, injury mixed in because he did miss most of June and a bit of July as well. But then even when he returned in August, September, he only had 5 down the stretch, and that was over the course of let's see, what would that be? 47 games. So what the heck happened there with Cedric Mullins? Do you think that was an injury self-preservation type thing, and maybe he'll get back to running this year? Or do you have concerns about Cedric Mullins' stolen base total?
I have a little bit of concern. I think mostly it was his struggles. I mean, he had his on base percentage in the second half was 249. If you're not getting on
Oh,
base, it is difficult to steal bases.
that is
Um,
true. That's a horrendous OBP. That's not a
yeah.
very good batting average, let alone an OBP.
So, which is crazy to me. 209 average, 249 on base, which is about a 5% walk rate. I think he just, he may have been dealing with some, injuries, but I think there's also the potential that, hey, we've already seen the peak of Cedric Mullins.
That's
I know.
exactly what I was going to say next. You
Yeah.
nailed it. And I think that's it. I think sometimes we have to be comfortable with the fact that, like, not everyone gets like a 5-year peak.
Yeah.
We saw his best season in 2021, another solid one in 2022. And that's probably the best of Cedric Mullins. He's going to be 29. And I think we just need to maybe see him as more of a solid 2.5 to 3 win guy as opposed to the 5 to 6 win guy that he was in 21 and 22. I think that's really it, is that we already saw the best. You really need to readjust where you're at with him. Now, I will say, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if he got back to 30 SBs next year, but I don't know that the slash line is going to jump up a ton. I think the
Yeah.
slash line is going to remain a bit of a challenge with the batting average being in the 230s.
For me, the big question is what are the runs scored? Because one of the things that was so exciting about Cedric Mullins was he's leading off. He only led off in one game in the second half.
Yeah, the team's too good
Like,
now to lead him off when he's not performing.
yeah. So, I don't usually care that much about spring training. I'm mostly watching it because I've missed baseball.
True.
But, like our boy, I don't know if, I know Mike Curlin's taken a little bit of a step back. I don't know if he's going to still be delivering his spring training lineups
I
this year.
I think that's. I thought he had said that that's like his main focus, and like that's
Oh,
what it's
okay,
going to
good.
be. I think I
So
thought I had read something recently about that. Go ahead.
yeah, I'll be watching that intently. Is he leading off? How often is he leading off? Especially later in spring for those late March drafts. So,
What if
yeah,
he's just not at all? Then what do you do with Cedric Mullins if he's just like a 6-7 hitter all spring?
I mean, I'm not paying this price, but I assume the price will continue to move down. He starts
Yeah,
moving. We start moving him outside of like the top 200, and then I can, especially if he drops, let's say like 215, where like Jackson Churio's going. Um,
this Jared Kalinich idiot. I mean, I would
yeah,
never draft it. I
Jack
could not
Stawinski.
fathom
I'll take
being in
him.
on
I'll
this
take
guy.
Mullins over those guys, but my
Would you
love
really take him
only
over
goes.
Kelnick? I was trying to be funny. Would you take him over Kelnick
Yeah, I'd take
at
him over
that price
Kelnick.
point?
The playing time is more guaranteed.
I
Like
would
he's
take
still
Kelnick.
Mullins is still a premium defensive player, so like he's gonna be in the lineup every day, or close to every day. So where Kelnick could be in the lineup for 3 weeks and then get sent down, or not even make the team.
Or
You
kick a
remember,
cooler.
Vaughn Grisham, like everybody was like excited about him, and then all of a
Not
sudden
this
Vaughn
show.
Grisham, yeah, all of a sudden Vaughn Grisham was gone.
We got one brave
So
right.
yeah,
We
yeah.
missed Michael Harris. He had a great second half.
Acuna, we got Acuna right.
What? Well, we got Von Grissom right. We were
Oh
high on
yeah,
him.
that,
I'll take a victory lap every once in a while. We take our heat when we miss, but anyway,
I'll take it a lot more than every once in a while.
Cedric Mullins dropping. I think I need to see him go a bit lower before I'm really interested. But I agree with you. There is a point where I start to get interested. It's not here yet, though. The
Yeah,
outfielders he's going around right now, Riley Green. It's actually a little bit of a open outfield area there. Jorge Soler, different profile type. Teoscar, different profile type. James Outman going about a round later. I think I just take Outman over Mullins.
I think I probably still lean Mullins just because the playing time is more guaranteed.
You don't think Outman's like locked in?
No.
So he started super hot, tailed off, and then finished strong again. I think he's pretty close to a lock of a play.
I think he
Um,
starts that way, but I also think the Dodgers are a team that, can't afford for, their outfield to be a poorly playing James Outman, Jason Hayward, and you.
well, I think you could say the same thing about Mullins, though, that the clock could be ticking on him too. If he puts up another
Who
low
plays
threes
center?
or sub three OBP, I think he's going to be in some trouble. They have a billion guys. I don't know, Colton Cowser.
No, Cowser can't play center.
I don't know his skills out there. I don't think they're going to run a low threes or sub three OBP Cedric Mullins very long. I think he'll have to improve. And if they don't trust somebody like Cowser out there, I'm just going off of roster resource here where center field is listed as it's center, right, left in that order. And I think these are listed in order of preference because Kyle Stowers is right, left, center because you would play him on a corner way before you'd ever play him in center. So I think Cowser can maybe play center, but even if not, don't be surprised if they sign a potential backup center fielder then if they don't want to trust Cowser.
Yeah.
Because I think that the playing time concerns that you highlight for Outman have to be there for Mullins too. I don't think they're going to just keep playing a poor Mullins, center field or not.
I agree.
All right, so let's move on. Now let's go to the young guys here because we got a couple of these up and comers that some people are going to be super interested in, but the market has pushed back a little bit on the Junior Caminero hype, a shortstop for the Rays. Big time prospect, made it to the majors this year. That was very unexpected. Got a week in the majors, a little reward for a quality 2-level season. And those 2 levels were not double and triple A. It was high A and double A, where he put up an excellent line with 31 bombs in 510 plate appearances. Kid's 19, absolute stud. Skipped triple A to get to the majors. But he's down right now, Junior Caminero, 32 spots, so about 2 rounds. And that's putting Junior Caminero at pick 217. Is that a fair price for him, or do you need it to come down more? And what do you think is fostering the dip? Is it just people are taking other guys pushing him down, or do you think there are concerns that he's not going to, break camp and be a 5-month player? If he doesn't break camp, at least be up there for 5 months. Do people think Wander's going to come back? What do you think's driving this dip for Caminero?
I think it's multifaceted. I think one is that there is a chance he is not on the team to start the year. I think he
I think
profiles
there's a
better.
strong chance, by the way,
Yeah.
of that.
He doesn't profile as like, at least I don't think he profiles as an everyday shortstop, which is where the Rays mostly could use him. And they have Paredes at third, Lau, who's expected to be healthy for the start of the season, at second. So where does Caminero play? He also didn't look amazing in his first go around. Yes, he had
It was a week. Stop it.
Yeah.
It was a
I
week.
mean, it was just a 22% strike rate, but the zone contact skills don't look completely polished. I don't know if he's had pretty large ground ball rates throughout the minor leagues. I think we've got a little bit of a Yandy Diaz esque type situation, even though he has prodigious raw power. I don't know if it's ready to be game power. So I'm a little bit tepid on Caminero as well. I kind of agree with the market. He has not even been in consideration for me in Gladiators.
Yeah, I'm a lot tepid, dude. I need like an 80 pick drop off of this. I am not picking Junior Caminero at pick 218. Are you kidding me?
He's not even on my board in Gladiators, which is mainly
absolutely
what I'm
not.
right now.
And then DC's, you have a little bit more flexibility there. And again, if I feel like I can get 5 months from somebody, I will take a prospect. We've talked about this before. We don't take too many guys like that, but I might be open to one, but not at 217. Yeah. He's got to come down way more than that. I know it's uncomfortable to talk about Wander with the shit that he's been accused of. Is there not a world where he comes back? We haven't heard anything else.
He's not coming back. He's never.
Why is he on the roster right now then?
I don't know, but there's no way you come back from this. multiple allegations of what he's accused
What if
of.
he's
Like,
exonerated? I mean, we could say what he's accused of. He creeping with children. Like, it is ugly. It's gross. So I'm not here to be like, let's talk about his fantasy angle. But if he's on the roster, then we do have to at least acknowledge, like, what's going on. We haven't
yeah,
heard anything else. Again, I'm not being like, let's get on the Wander train. Let's start drafting him. But what if he's just back next year?
I can't imagine he
I
is.
can't either, dude, but I'm
Like,
just staring at him on the roster resource. And I understand Jason's just doing, because he got put back on the roster, right? There was that news, and it was a procedural thing because of the restricted list and how it works. Like, once the calendar kind of clicks to the off season, you have to take guys off the IL and put them on the roster. And I think you have to take guys off the restricted list and quote unquote put them on the roster or whatever. So it was a procedural move. I don't want him anywhere near a baseball field, given what he's done. If he's done it, I know, we got to have the process or whatever, but I don't think, let me say this, even if Wander isn't back though, I don't think they go right to Caminero. He skipped AAA. He's 20 next year. So I think he needs at least a month in AAA. And at that price, 218, 217, I need it to be way cheaper for Junior Caminero. So he's way off my board right now. Not even close to consideration. All right, let's run to the other edge of the age spectrum here and talk Marcell Ozuna. Now, he's another one with obviously some ugly off-field stuff. He has apparently a remarkably toxic marriage where they beat on each other. And by the way, that's not justifying anything he did, just because his wife also hits him. But they just clearly have major issues. Well, that, I don't want to say went away this year, but it was not at the forefront because he went out and had an amazing season. And it's not really fun talking about a guy who seems like he might be a huge scumbag popping off, but he went 40, 100. We got to talk the numbers: 40, 100, 274. He is util only, and I wonder if that's souring the market or just the volatility of who he is as a person. But he's down 29 picks, so call it 2 rounds to pick 163. Is that a fair spot for Marcell Ozuna? Do you think the Kelnick trade played a role here, just adding more talent? What do you think is behind the move? And then are you interested in a 160s pick of Marcell Ozuna?
yeah, I mean, I think that maybe people are just projecting obvious regression, right? Like, hey, he's not going to hit 40 home runs again. He's a guy who's struggled to stay on the field the last few years as well. So, is there a real chance that he's going to play at another 144 games? I'm fine with this price. Maybe part of it is the util only, and people not wanting to kind of clog up that spot. I don't have an issue with that at all. I don't have an issue with you're going. You need power, and man, power's hard to find this late. I got no problem dropping
power that isn't remarkably flawed. That comes with like a batting average of my weight.
That comes with 80, 100.
Yeah, that's the thing too. He's on a great team.
Yeah.
And, Ozuna, you talked about him playing another bunch of games. I mean, he played $124 in 2023, $144 last year. You can obviously do the easy split the difference, call him 134. That's about 550 plate appearances. That's 30-80 probably, with a decent batting average. Well, not guaranteed a decent batting average, because 2022 was really bad at 226. Last year was really good at 274. But I will take the lazy way out and just kind of split the difference. And again, that's a 250 average. So if he's 250, 30, 80 at pick 164, I think I would fill up my util for that. Now, again, standard disclaimer, people that don't want to draft dirtbags, I don't begrudge you that at all. Other people say, hey, they're number producers. I'm not making value judgments of their personality when I draft guys. Others say, I play fantasy for fun. I don't want to root for shitbags. Totally viable. I have no problem with that. You can work around the scum of baseball and still draft a good fantasy team. Yeah. You can also just take whoever you want, and I don't judge you as a person that you love Marcell Ozuna because you drafted him. Like we're smart enough to think beyond that. But anyway, I do think that this price might be fair. I wonder if it'll keep going down though, because util only does scare people. He has had some bad seasons recently. And I don't know. I do think that maybe the Kelnick move did scare people off a little bit more. Not that he was playing the outfield, but just that it's another body that is there. And if Ozuna keeps dropping, I think he becomes even more appealing. Obviously, if we like him at 164. So he's on your board then around this area?
Yeah, I mean, we're currently at 174 in our Gladiator. He is the top name on the list right now. I would definitely entertain taking him if he makes it back around to me next round. Now you've got 2 picks between now and then,
Yes,
so I may not get a shot.
Well, I can tell you the next one here that could happen on the show here, because I'm only 3 picks away, and it looks like 2 of them are online. Oh no, just one of them. Would not be. This first one would not be. But then if he was back at 184, I might consider him. I mean, I could use some pop. I got Pete Alonso, but I could use more pop. I don't have a ton beyond that with Rutschman, Heim, Betts, Volpe, Yelich, Carter. Like, there's power there, but it's not like transcendent power.
I keep taking pitchers. Like, I just can't stop.
Dude, your pitching is bananas, though.
I mean,
I've only got 4 pitchers.
I've got 6 pitchers in round 12, and I want to take more. Like, you
just took Erod. I heavily considered Erod.
I just assumed he would not make it back to me.
All that chatter about catchers, though. People were talking catchers in the chat. Alvarez and Moreno had gone, so I
never pay attention to the actual draft chat.
I think in this instance, it tipped me off to the fact that catchers were going and that Heim wasn't going to make it back. And even though I already had Rutschman and I could have easily waited and taken like a Tyler Stevenson, I wanted to go double premium. And to me, Rutschman Heim is double premium. And so I did punt Erod there. So you're welcome. A little bit of a gift because it was between Heim and Erod for me at that pick there. So anyway, let's move on from Marcell Ozuna to talk a little bit of Eloy Jimenez, who is kind of just a younger version of him to a degree, right? Like, the upside is there. You can totally see it. Now, Ozuna being at pick 164, I know you've had some issues with Eloy Jimenez, but is his price dropping 28 picks, almost 2 rounds to pick 223? Would you rather not just wait for him to take the shot? Is the price difference enough to take the younger guy who could be just as good, or do the constant injury issues of Eloy Jimenez take you off? And by the way, he's also util only this year. What do you think of Eloy Jimenez down at pick 223, a 2-round drop from October?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at them as remarkably different players. I think you're.
Same.
I think he is. I think Ozuna is a really good comp, and you could get 4,100. The problem is Eloy has been hurt every single year,
every single season,
and so it's really hard to get to 40 home runs when you're not on the field for 140 games. And he has not had 20 home runs since his rookie year. Like, we are now 4 straight seasons. Now, obviously, one of those is 2020.
Yeah, but even still, your point
3 straight
stands.
Seasons where 18 home runs this last year is the high water mark, and
no 500
is
plate
the
appearance.
low.
No 500 plate appearance seasons in those 3 seasons either. 21, 22, 23.
Yeah.
489 this past year is his high. Look, I love Eloy. I was the one saying, I'm going to draft him again. I am going to draft him again because the price is now coming down. I was drafting him
in the formats we're drafting right now. I'm not drafting him in a Gladiator. I'm probably not drafting him in a Draft Champions, though I'm more likely doing Draft.
I would draft him in DC, but not Gladiator. I agree.
But hopefully the price keeps going down, because I'll be more than happy to take a gamble on him in a league where I can drop his ass.
Yes, if you can get Eloy past pick 200, close to 250 in a standard league with a reserve, and that way if he does get hurt again, we can just move on. Then I'm going to be right back where I've been the last couple of years, but finally at a fair price. I've been paying premiums on Eloy thinking, hey, all I need is health. And whenever I say that, all I need, I know it's not all I need. It's not a small thing. It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
But I love when a guy's skills are excellent and I'm just trying to spike some health. I still believe Eloy is a very talented bat. We've seen the 30 homers before. 40 is there. He needs to find health. He hasn't found it at all during his career. There's no reason to believe that he's going to, but at least now you have a price incentive to take the gamble. At least I feel like I do. And now you're a bit more on board than you've been in the past. So I will pay this price for Eloy in a DC, but you won't see me take him in our Gladiator here.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, that's Eloy, basically just a younger Marcell Ozuna. Now let's go to the old pitchers. We got back-to-back. We'll just put them together, really. Scherzer and Verlander, they're down 26 and 25 picks, respectively, and I believe they're going right by each other as well. Verlander's at pick 125. Scherzer's at 142. Okay, so they've split a little bit, but they're essentially going pretty close to each other. Who do you like better between Scherzer and Verlander? Let's start there. At their respective price, so you get about a round discount off of Scherzer, generally speaking.
I think it's got to be Verlander, just because I think the innings are more guaranteed at this point.
I think you have to feel. I don't know how you could convince me that you feel more comfortable taking Scherzer.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I mean, he just threw 162 innings a year after throwing 105. I don't understand why Verlander's so low.
It's the I want to be a year early. I'd rather be giving up on him a year early than a year late. It's the hot potato thing right now. People don't want to get caught, but he's a unicorn, right? Like I know he got hurt in 21. Like he can get hurt again, especially at age 41. But I mean, I'll let you talk. People don't need to hear that I would take Justin Verlander. No shit, I would. But yeah, I agree. Like, I don't even understand why he's at pick 124. I took him in our Gladiator.
I mean,
cheaper than that.
I get that the skills are starting to go, right? He's older. He can't throw as hard. Things aren't quite as sharp. The walk rate went up last year. The home run rate went kind of back up last year. The strikeouts came way down.
But we knew all that was going to happen off the crazy size season, right?
And even like, okay, so pick your favorite ERA estimator and go like, oh, look, his, X ERA was 369.
This is Verlander we're talking about, by the way, with his 322 ERA, and you're talking about his ERA indicators.
His FIP was 385. That's much worse than, like, that's still livable at this price. You just got him extremely late in our Gladiator. And, like, I was just sitting there going, I mean, like, I don't need pitching, but
that was the thing.
I'll take 170 innings of Justin Verlander, even if it's a 3.6 ERA. Like,
yeah,
fine.
You were almost forced to take him, even with all your pitching. Like, if he lasts one more damn round, but I finally took him at pick 147, and gladly too. I needed some pitching. He's actually going to be behind his teammate Fromber and Dylan Cease on my ball club, and I like that top three there. Yeah, he's so much more bankable. Frankly, I think he and Scherzer should be much further apart, because I do find Verlander to be quite a bit more bankable if you're just saying who's the better chance to get a $150. And Verlander's passed that each of the last 2 years at 175 and 162.
I disagree with that. And I mean, I'll take over the transition. I think both players need to be higher. I don't think they need to be that far apart. And I may actually end up having Scherzer higher in my ranks in spite of everything I just said, because I think the skills for Scherzer are better, and I think the situation for Scherzer is really, really nice. Not that it's not nice for Verlander as well.
Let me just say, I didn't realize he threw a $153 last year. It's more than I thought. I had him closer to low 100. So you're right on that point. Continue.
You look at Scherzer's numbers in Texas. After being traded to Texas, he threw 45 innings with a 3.20 ERA. 10 strikeouts per 9, a fine
96 whip.
Yeah, like he was back to elite Scherzer. The problem was he finished the year hurt. And that is the most concerning part to me. But I'm fine. I love where Scherzer's going.
Your point's fair though. They should just be back to back. I actually agree with that. They should just be right by each other. When one goes, that's your signal to take the other.
I think as I do more and more drafts, one of the things I'm gonna, I don't want to be, this last year I I was more willing to just wait till the 4th, 5th round to grab a starter. And I can do that, and I did that in our Gladiator currently. I think I just got lucky with Tariq Skubal falling where he did. I am more likely to take like one ace and then just wait for these guys, right? Like there's so many flashy young guys that I think that these old vets that are in the declines of their career, but still produce really good numbers are overlooked.
I think you're 100% right? You know, we talked about the big pitching, the youth pitching movement that happened this year. They're all going to be pushed up. A bunch of them are going to hit again, but a bunch of them are going to fail. It does push down old heads like Scherzer and Verlander. And, you know, I don't think I'm going to put Verlander on every team or Scherzer. You know, I'm not going to get overstocked on them, but I don't mind having multiple shares of either. I'm really okay with that. I got my first Verlander. I'll probably get a Scherzer. He was better than I thought. So I'm glad you said something there because I had not realized that he did get 153 innings. It was better than I thought. And he should be right by Verlander. So
interesting tidbit that just came across my phone.
Yes, sir.
As I was. Someone said that when Shohei Ohtani signed with the Angels, he signed on December 8th. Is he going to repeat the exact same signing date?
I love the symmetry of that, by the way. If he does, that'd be amazing. Hopefully. I would love a Friday Shohei bomb, and then you and I get back on pod freaking.
No, you'll have to go solo. I got to go to my actual job.
Oh, you have to do your real job. Damn it. We got to get you full-time baseball so that the second Ohtani drops, we can jump back on. No, we'll probably just save it for Monday because, you know, what's the assessment going to be? Oh, he's awesome. You know.
Yeah.
He's awesome in Toronto. He's awesome in LA.
It's going to be that Alejandro Kirk has less playing time this year.
Yeah, that's going to the biggest loser is Alejandro Kirk can no longer DH. All right, let's move to a couple young pitchers who really disappointed last year. And I don't want to be too I told you so about this one. This was tough. All draft season last year was like my body comp, Triston McKenzie. I love him. And I love what he did for me the year before in 2022. But he was one that I wasn't going to pay the premium on because I worried that his body wasn't necessarily going to hold up for a second straight full season. And that's exactly what happened. He was a big injury flop, just 16 innings. The market's pushing him back down again, 24 picks right now since October, down to pick 240. Is that a cheap enough price to take the shot on Triston McKenzie coming off of an injury washout season?
In Fab Leagues, yes. In other formats like Gladiator and Draft Champions, which is what we're mostly drafting right now, no, I'm not touching him in those formats. Not on my board. And that's just because you can't replace him.
Let me ask you one thing. Okay, I get you in the Gladiator. I feel like maybe you're a little too strident on this in DCs. Who the hell do you take if you can't take any injury risks?
It's not that you can't take any injury risks. I'm just more careful, and there are other guys already going around his spot where I'm like, hey, give me Brian Bayo. You know,
he did finish on the field, by the way, McKenzie, which we do love. So I should at least give him that credit.
If I'm gonna take an injury risk, why not take Nick Lodolo, who I liked last year?
Because his park is no. Ain't no way I'm taking Nick Lodolo over Triston McKenzie. If they're going similarly,
and I got John Means,
two major injury risk guys, I take McKenzie over Lodolo without blinking. John Means business.
Yes, John Means. I think it's been on every single one of my drafts.
You're tugging at my heartstrings on that one. I like John Means business quite a bit.
So I just, I'm not. Maybe he's not completely off my board, but in a draft champions. But I just don't see myself drafting him unless he falls. If he falls like outside of like the top 275, like fine, I'll take the gamble.
Not yet. As low as 259. So, what about that? That's not quite there?
259 puts him around Kikuchi.
That's a good one to bring up. I got a question about him in my chat. Do you believe in Kikuchi?
I have a hard time with Kikuchi because
hard time with him.
He's been my Charlie Brown guy, right?
Yeah.
Like every year.
He's been the fantasy community's Charlie Brown guy, right?
I mean, here's the thing: like there are a lot of guys going around in this spot where I go, don't know how much better I feel about these guys than I do about a guy like McKenzie. So maybe this is like a really good spot for him. Um, because at least, so like, I'm not worried about Kikuchi not pitching. I'm worried about Kikuchi just being bad.
Exactly.
And the problem with guys like that in like a, obviously in a gladiator, you're just eating it. But even in a draft champions, you will get to a point in the season in which you may only have like 10 or 11 pitchers that are healthy on your roster.
Yep.
And then you're kind of forced into using Yusei Kikuchi or using, whatever mediocre reliever that,
Exactly.
and like you're almost forced into using him even if he's bad. That's a tough one because more likely than not, you still took an injured player for injury prone guys, later on anyway. So I don't know.
That's a tough area. Like you said, there's a lot of guys here that like I can understand if you want to take Kikuchi or Kenta Maeda or let's see here if there's other guys I would agree with. John Means Business, like you had mentioned. Waka.
I mean, give me
Lugo.
Maeda easily over that whole group.
I'm taking Maeda too. Yeah, not just because he's a Tiger. I just always love Maeda. He has his own injury risks. Sure, he's a bit older, but I'll take him for sure. Christopher Sanchez at pick 249. I'm all over that. That's a big second half guy that I really liked. So it's not a bad spot for McKenzie. I certainly won't overload on him, but I'm more inclined to buy this year on the downswing after the flameout season, because the thing of it is, y'all, if you didn't follow him as a prospect, he had tons of injury issues coming up. That's why last year just wasn't a surprise.
And he is your body comp. Like
that's why it was so hard to be against him last year. Because I love him.
I actually, like his mechanics, and if he could just put a little bit more meat on his bones, honestly, I think
I'm sure he's tried. I'm sure he's tried.
They just need to force feed him in the off season.
Believe me, our body types have tried, and sometimes it just doesn't work. Oh, I got an MLB notification. Nah, it doesn't mean anything. It's just they shouldn't be able to send them just to like say, oh, yeah, read this article about the pending Ohtani situation.
There's probably a way to set your notifications.
True, but this time of year, whenever I get MLB, I'm like, oh my god, let me look at my phone, and then it's like, here's one Rule 5 pick for each team, which is a cool article. I like that, but I want the news. All right, another big flame out last year. Now his wasn't injury based; it was kind of performance based, more so, and like, I don't want to overstate it. It wasn't the worst year ever, but Cristian Javier did not live up to expectations. He was supposed to be baby Strider. Oh, you missed Strider in the first, second round. Get Cristian Javier 3-4 rounds later, or even it was closer to 2-3 rounds. Like they weren't that far apart. 4.56 ERA, 127 WHIP. Again, you did not lose your league because of that. I don't believe it was underperformance for as early as you drafted him, but you could work around that. That was unlikely to be the one thing that ruined your season, but it was a bad year for what we had expectations for with Cristian Javier. He's now down 22 picks, so just over a round, down to pick 177. Is that cheap enough to buy back on Cristian Javier after the disappointing 2023?
I would take Cristian Javier over Triston McKenzie.
I agree, but that's kind of easy. What about, okay, teammate Hunter Brown is right there at 177. They go back to back.
Give me Hunter Brown.
I think so too. Nick Pivetta, 183.
Give me Javier, but just because he's on the better team, I think.
Brian Wu, pick 185 right Brian there as well.
And these are all names I am passing Triston McKenzie. Obviously, I just said I would pass McKenzie for Javier. So like this is the group that I'm saying not drafting McKenzie, and I'm taking.
Let's go up. Guys that are going just a bit ahead of Javier, but they can fall down to his range. Bailey Ober, pick 175. Carlos Rodon.
Give me Carlos Rodon.
So you agree with the market so far. Jose Barrios up at 164.
Give me Barrios.
Okay, so you agree with the guys that are going just ahead of Javier, and you like some of the guys going a little bit after him. So maybe you think Javier should be closer to like Shane Baz, Chris Sale, Nathan Eovaldi in the late 180s.
I take Boz over him. I take probably Sale over him. I take Braxton Garrett over all of them.
Your boy Erod there at 191.
Erod over all of them. So, and I'm not saying like I'm out on Javier, though I may just be out because of the price, but the volatility, man, like we saw it. It did not work last year. Now he's also one of those guys that could easily go back to being an SP too, if he does figure things out. But and so if you're shooting for upside at that point, go for it. He may have the best upside of like that entire group, but I
kind of want to buy low, man.
I have no problem buying low. Like this is one of those guys where like if he's the guy that falls out of this group, I have no problem ending up with him. Like but he's not my target. Like all things being equal in terms of price, like he's not my target out of this group.
He has a wide range in these 4 drafts since mid-November, and I know it's a small sample of just 4 drafts, but DC's take some time to finish. 137 as a min, 203 as a high for Javier. So he can fall below all that group that we talked about there. And at that range, I mean, that's another 25 picks after his ADP. Then I am definitely interested because then you were able to get a Boz and a Woo and an Erod, maybe 1 or 2 of those guys, and then you can still cycle back around to Cristian Javier at pick 200. If he's going closer to that area consistently, then I'm more in. Right now, because of the folks going around Javier, I'm interested, but not seeking him out. Like I said, I'd take Hunter Brown and then a bunch of those other dudes, at least equal with him. But I don't want to quit Javier. I don't want to overreact too much to last year. That's all. All right, so Cristian Javier, minus 22 picks. Worth taking a closer look at. I'll probably deep dive him, when I do my SP ranks, which I am working on, by the way. I was going to do just a list with like a little 1-sentence thing. I decided to go full write-up. So we're getting a big dog, and that's why they've taken a while to come out with that first run there. So stay tuned on that. Our last guy, a guy we have talked about a couple different times here, but he's moving down now. We actually talked about him as somebody who was surging up. We saw you get Wyatt Langford at a nice price, at least relative to the ADP that had been set in our last Gladiator. Now he's down 19 picks, which is about a round. And, we talked about him very recently in our drafting 0 experienced rookies. So we don't have to go too deep on Langford, but that was at pick 138 as an ADP. Now Langford is down to 158. So call it 20 picks even. Obviously, if you liked him up at 138, which I think you were not out on. You might like him more at 158, but you got him at 232.
Yeah.
Quite a bit different than even this lowered ADP. So where do you stand right now that the market's kind of pulling back? Do they need to pull back quite a bit more? Does it have to be to pick 200s for you to get involved? Because I know that 232 was you just kept waiting and he kept staying there and you said, fine, I'll take him. But that's an anomaly. So what do you think of Wyatt Langford dropping now closer to pick 160 on average?
I think that's probably where he should be. And the problem is, like, this is just a little bit of the calm before the storm, because once he starts hitting in spring training and there's talk that he could make the team or be up really early, he's going to go way up. I think this is just a market course correction from some early drafts going a little bit too high. I think that's all that is, and I think it will course correct right again if there's any reports about him potentially moving or being on the team day one.
Yeah, I don't really have any disagreements there about that. Now, we know it's going to be such a different story in spring. He's raking homers, people going crazy on him. If he is breaking camp and it is mid-March and you're doing drafts, are you in at a pick like 150, 160, 130? Like you're ready to go if he's locked in as a starter for Wyatt Langford?
Yeah, I mean, if he is, if there are reports, that he is going to be on the team day one,
Mhm.
then I think pick 100 is where I'm at. Yeah. So if you
are
think that
nothing from
is
Jordan Walker.
but I mean, for the Jordan Walkers, there's also the Julio Rodriguez's where it's like, hey, when I got him for $2 in Tout Wars, he was awesome. Like,
This ain't $2. This is pick 100.
I'm still willing to do it. I think
Okay,
if I know he's up.
Yeah,
I don't.
We're talking March at this point where we have to know that
The hard
Langford's
part
ready to
is with the Korea series, a lot of drafts are going to be earlier this year, and we're still going to have to wait for the rest of the guys to start a week later. Are we going to have that information before a lot of people do their drafts?
That is very interesting, and I think it's going to be a situation too where most rooms are going to have at least one Langford believer.
Yep.
And so the price is rarely going to really dip down,
right?
Like we had that anomalous
I honestly
draft.
think I say pick 100, right? So I'm saying like end of the 6th, early 7th round. I don't think I'll be able to get him.
Oh my goodness, dude! I mean, look, I took Bobby Witt in the 4th round of a main.
Yeah,
I'm not throwing stones here.
I don't think I'll get him.
Oh man, that would be.
If we're getting news, like prior to main event season, I don't think I'd get him at pick 100.
And how much of this do you think is influenced by the sample that we saw from Langford? Like if
it's 100% I mean, or 95%, and then 5%.
Isn't that bad then?
It absolutely is, but like,
okay. Because like it was great, but it was 200 plate appearances across 4 levels, a couple of which he was probably way too good for. But then he continued it at double and triple A. So I don't want.
That's the thing.
Crapping on Langford.
I think the 5% part is other guys that have done this and been successful.
The recent rookie surge. Yep, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm just trying to give you questions for pushback. I'm not necessarily out. I will take risky guys like that. Like I said, I was in on the Bobby Witt situation.
No, the only reason I took him in the Gladiator that we were in was because he fell out.
Pick 232. Complete major discount off of where he'd been going. And you just said, enough is enough. I'm going to take him here.
In that format, I don't necessarily want him very often because I think there is a real chance that he is not on the team early on in the season. And then, hey, what if, the Rangers say, like, hey, Evan Carter is great, Adolis Garcia is Adolis Garcia, and...
Well, if that's the case, then there'll be a spot open because Adolis Garcia isn't very good.
Just stop it. Just stop. And then Leody Taveras is a premium defender who can, hold his own with the bat. Like, they may just say, yeah, we don't need you right now. Like it's.
I mean, that's the case right now, though. Like he doesn't have a spot for. There isn't a spot for Langford, and unless because Adolis can play outfield, Carter can. You mentioned Taveras as carrying tool there. The other two are great defenders, though. So then, who are you putting at DH? Even if you want to say, okay, then Langford can DH or one of the other guys can DH.
When he's not catching.
Well, yeah, but I mean, right now they have Ezekiel Duran penciled in. If you've got those 4 outfielders, I think Langford's a decent fielder. I don't know if he's premium. Do you want to take a rookie and DH him day one?
I don't think so.
So then I don't know where he really fits right now.
I mean, honestly, his path to playing time is through Leody Taveras.
It makes me sad.
Me too. And I hope I'm wrong about that. But like, I think that not to say that they couldn't DH him sometimes and DH other guys, in the outfield to just give him days off from playing defense. But like, yeah, I mean, as his path to playing time is through our boy. That's, it's Evan Carter moving to center or Adolis moving to center.
Adolis,
and Langford eating up one of those corners. And I mean, as much as I love Leody Taveras, like his long-term profile is that of a premium 4th outfielder. So,
especially on an elite team like Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe they trade him.
That could, moves could happen that way too. Create a little bit of an opening with a couple player trade there.
If they do trade Leody, because they're not. I don't think they're trading any of the other guys that we've talked
Then
about.
Langford's price goes up immediately, right?
Oh, then he's top 100, and I'm already priced out.
What is the highest you'd pay? Guaranteed, locked in, March 15th. He's in. They've
90?
moved somebody. Okay, I was going to ask if you'd pay 75.
And yeah, no. I
So
don't think I
90,
would.
the closest outfielder at 90 is Brian Reynolds at 92.
Give me the instant production of Brian Reynolds. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you can book that production.
Next outfielder comes all the way down to pick 104, Lane Thomas. And then if you're saying you take Langford over Lane Thomas, I can't really
I'll take
question
Langford
that
over
very
Lane
much.
Thomas. Yeah.
Like that's open.
Better team. I understand like Lane popped off last year, but if he turns back into a pumpkin, I'm not going to be 100% surprised.
And better fantasy carrying tool with the power, like the hit ability of Langford is better than anything Lane Thomas offers. And I say that as a Lane Thomas fan. I was a year early, couldn't shut up about him in 2022, and then last year he popped off. All right, so there we go. There's 10 fallers. They all seem to make some sense, right? They all have real reasons as to why they're falling, but it has created some buying opportunities for some of these guys. So keep an eye on where things are going. I know it's not for a little while, but when do you start your market reports?
I'm probably going to start next week.
There you go. Okay.
I got a double. I thought about actually starting it last night, but I've got to double check and see like what samples I'm using. I don't want to use too small of samples for the beginning.
Yeah, because even this, comparing October to the more recent drafts, it's only 4 drafts since November 15th. Now that's DC's only, and if you want to do a bigger sample, there's been 28 gladiators, but then that's such a different pool that I don't know if you want to use gladiator data as the market
I'm
report.
only going to use draft champions just because it's the only consistent from October to.
You might wait closer to Christmas then to get some more data to pile up.
Yeah, I'll take a look and see what the samples look like. The gladiators have actually kind of screwed the draft champions in terms of we used to get a ton of draft champions.
Agreed.
So I'll see where I kind of started last year. A little bit of news.
Hit me with it on our way out here.
You ready? Source: Yusei Kikuchi reserves entire upscale sushi restaurant near Rogers Center for tonight. Reservation made for 50+ people.
Oh, dude, I want this to happen.
I do too.
So cool. I would have 0 issues with Toronto getting him.
Yeah.
Like I think that'd be so fun. It's so different than what everyone was expecting, and I'm totally here for it.
Yep.
So, oh my God. I wonder if I can get an invite to that. I mean, we did just kind of shit talk.
I love sushi.
I do too. I don't think he's going to invite us though.
Oh.
We should have said something nice about him. I would draft Kikuchi top 100 if I can go to that party. Even if Shohei's not going to be there, I just want to go to an upscale sushi restaurant with Yusei Kikuchi and company.
Yeah, right?
I mean, just in general, that seems pretty dope. So,
yeah.
All right, Justin.
Twitter right now is insane. Just like
you keep me posted. You're the one cycling through all of it. I'm just going to keep refreshing trade rumors, but I got a lot of things to get done today, including working on my starting pitcher ranking. So I'm going to go get back to that. You got to go get to work. And I know it's going to be, the day we're both busy, it's going to get disrupted by the Ohtani news, but that'd be the best disruption possible. Mm-hmm. We'll be back on Monday talking more baseball. Justin, hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.